There is a specific reason Japanese kitchens feel remarkably satisfying. It is not because they are expensive or filled with futuristic technology, but because dozens of tiny frustrations have been quietly designed out of existence. These are problems so small that most people eventually stop noticing them. A drop of oil running down a bottle, a wet pot lid with nowhere to go, rice spilling onto the floor, or vegetables that never quite look like the ones served in restaurants. Today, we will explore several Japanese kitchen inventions that solve these everyday annoyances with remarkable simplicity. By the end, you may start looking at your own kitchen very differently. A problem exists in almost every home. Every time you pour cooking oil, one stubborn drop remains hanging from the bottle. A few seconds later, gravity wins. The oil slowly crawls down the neck, coating the bottle with a sticky film. Dust sticks to it. The shelf becomes greasy. And before long, the entire bottle feels unpleasant to touch. Most people simply accept this as normal, but Japan did not. Japanese glassmakers developed a special type of oil dispenser with a carefully engineered spout. At first glance, it looks completely ordinary, but the geometry is anything but ordinary. The tip is shaped with a reverse cut edge and a hidden return channel. The moment you stop pouring and tilt the bottle upright, the remaining drop is redirected back inside. Instead of falling down the bottle, it disappears, almost as if gravity has been reversed. The satisfying part comes when you watch it happen. A droplet forms, it hesitates, and then quietly retreats back into the container. There is no mess, no sticky residue, and no oily fingerprints. It is just a bottle that remains perfectly clean day after day. It serves as a reminder of something Japan understands exceptionally well. Sometimes the best invention isn't adding a new feature, but removing a tiny irritation. Rice is a daily ritual in Japan, but storing it has always created small frustrations. Traditional rice bins require scooping, which leads to grains spilling onto the floor. Hands accidentally bring moisture inside, and measuring portions becomes guesswork. Individually, these problems seem insignificant, but repeated every day, they become friction. Japanese designers approach the problem differently by asking, what if measuring rice required no measuring at all? The result was the one-push rice dispenser. This is a slim, airtight container with a mechanical dispensing system hidden inside. Every press releases exactly the same amount of rice. There is no scoop, no guessing, and no need to open the entire container. Just one movement results in one perfect portion. The experience is surprisingly satisfying. You press the lever, hear a crisp click, and a precise stream of rice cascades into the tray below. The motion is deliberate, and every grain ends up exactly where it belongs. There is no waste, no clutter, and no uncertainty. In many ways, this device represents a distinctly Japanese philosophy. Precision is not about perfection, but about peace of mind. When every step is predictable, your attention is free to focus on everything else. Every cook has faced a common dilemma. You lift the lid to check the food, but now, where do you put it? If you place it on the counter, water mixed with oil spreads everywhere. If you lean it against something, it slides. If you lay it flat, it occupies valuable workspace. For such a common action, there never seemed to be a good solution until Japan redesigned the moment entirely. The answer is a dedicated lid stand. This is a small object made from heavy cast iron or silicone, strong enough to hold a hot lid upright and stable enough that it never tips over. Hidden beneath it is a shallow tray designed for a single purpose: to collect every drop. As steam condenses on the lid, the water slowly travels downward. Instead of reaching the countertop, it lands neatly inside the tray, contained, controlled, and invisible. The satisfying moment happens every time the lid clicks into place. A heavy object becomes perfectly balanced. The droplets gather exactly where they should, and the cooking area remains completely dry. Nothing dramatic has happened, yet the entire kitchen feels calmer because cleanliness is not just about appearance. It is about removing one more thing your brain no longer needs to worry about. Cabbage often tastes different in Japan, not because the cabbage itself is special, but because of how it is cut. If you have ever eaten Japanese tonkatsu, you have probably noticed the mountain of cabbage served beside it. Light, airy, and almost like a cloud. Recreating that texture at home is surprisingly difficult. Using a normal knife, the slices are often too thick, too uneven, and too dense. The cabbage loses its softness, and what should feel fresh and delicate becomes chewy and disappointing. Professional chefs spend years mastering knife skills to achieve paper-thin slices, but Japan found a shortcut. The solution is an ultra-thin cabbage shredder, a handheld tool fitted with an extremely sharp blade crafted using techniques developed over centuries. Using it requires almost no effort. You simply glide the blade across the surface of a cabbage, and instantly delicate ribbons begin to flow out, thin as threads and soft as silk. Each stroke produces hundreds of perfectly uniform strands. The sound is almost therapeutic, as fresh cabbage transforms into a fluffy pile. The satisfying part is not just the speed, but the consistency. Every strand looks identical, every bite feels lighter, and the final plate suddenly resembles something from a restaurant kitchen. Japan has a habit of taking a skill that normally requires years to master and redesigning the tool so ordinary people can achieve the same result. Good design does not make people work harder. It makes excellence feel effortless. Most kitchens have a hidden problem. The higher a shelf is, the less likely people are to use it. Items get pushed to the back, rarely touched, and eventually forgotten. Every attempt to reach them requires stretching, climbing, or balancing on a chair. A space designed for storage slowly becomes dead space. Japan looked at this problem and asked, "What if the shelf came to you?" The answer is the pull-down cabinet elevator. This is a storage system hidden inside upper cabinets that uses springs and hydraulic assistance to lower entire shelves smoothly into reach. At first, it feels almost impossible. You pull the handle gently, and suddenly, every shelf begins descending in perfect control with no shaking, no wobbling, and no heavy lifting. The movement is so smooth, it feels more like watching an elevator than a kitchen cabinet. The satisfying moment comes when the shelf stops exactly where your hands naturally rest. Every spice jar, bowl, and container becomes perfectly accessible, without standing on your toes or climbing. It is a simple idea that reflects a powerful philosophy. Good design does not force people to adapt. It adapts to people. Cooking often depends on estimation, a little wider, a little thinner, or close enough. But when ingredients are cut unevenly, the food cooks unevenly. The presentation looks messy, and even a simple dish can feel unpolished. Japan turned this problem into geometry. The solution is a cutting board etched with precise measurement grids and reference angles. At first glance, the markings seem insignificant, but the moment you start cutting, they become guides and invisible instructions for creating consistency. A block of tofu becomes perfect cubes, a carrot becomes identical slices, and a sandwich becomes symmetrical. The satisfying part is watching the knife follow the lines. Each cut lands exactly where intended, and piece after piece emerges with machine-like precision. What once felt random now feels deliberate, orderly, and calm. There is something deeply satisfying about transforming chaos into structure. One of the least pleasant jobs in any kitchen is cleaning the sink strainer. Food scraps collect throughout the day, moisture remains trapped, and before long, a layer of slime begins to form, followed by a smell. Most strainers try to solve the problem after it appears, but Japan decided to prevent it entirely. The solution is surprisingly ancient: copper. This is a metal known for its natural antimicrobial properties. Japanese sink strainers often use ultrafine copper mesh instead of ordinary stainless steel. The copper actively discourages bacteria from growing, which means less slime, less odor, and far less cleaning. The satisfying moment arrives at the end of the day, when you lift the basket, tap it once, and the waste falls away cleanly. There is no scraping, no touching, and no unpleasant surprises. Even after weeks of use, the strainer remains remarkably clean. It is an example of a uniquely Japanese approach. The best cleaning solution is designing things that stay clean in the first place. Mornings are often rushed, and few things are more disappointing than waiting for a toaster only to end up with dry bread that is crispy outside, but dry inside, or toasted unevenly. Japan's solution looks almost too simple: a small ceramic mesh grill placed directly over a gas flame. There is no electricity, no buttons, and no complicated settings. Beneath the mesh is a ceramic layer designed to convert direct heat into gentle infrared radiation. The result is surprisingly effective. Instead of slowly drying the bread, the heat quickly crisps the surface while preserving moisture inside. The satisfying moment happens in under a minute as the bread slowly turns golden brown. Tiny crackling sounds emerge from the crust, and when you break it apart, a sharp crunch gives way to a warm, soft interior. Simple ingredients and simple technology lead to extraordinary results. Sometimes, innovation is not about adding complexity, but about returning to fundamentals. For something so small, ice cubes can be surprisingly frustrating. You open the freezer, grab the tray, and twist it, but nothing happens. You twist harder, yet still nothing. Eventually, you slam the tray against the counter or run water over the bottom, turning a simple task into an unnecessary struggle. Japan redesigned the experience with an ice tray made from flexible, cold-resistant materials combined with a clever twisting mechanism. Instead of forcing individual cubes loose, the entire tray releases them simultaneously. The satisfying moment is almost addictive. You grip both ends, give a gentle twist, and instantly every cube pops free, one after another, like a perfectly synchronized chain reaction. There is no banging, no cracking plastic, and no frozen fingers, just a clean release. This is a tiny action executed perfectly. Perhaps that is what connects all of these inventions. None of them are revolutionary or futuristic, yet each one removes a small point of friction from everyday life. A drop of oil, a slippery lid, a difficult reach, or a stubborn ice tray. These are problems so small most people stop noticing them. But Japan continues asking, what if daily life didn't have to be frustrating at all? Maybe that is why Japanese kitchens feel strangely satisfying, not because they contain better tools, but because they contain fewer problems. Keep noticing the small things, because sometimes the smallest improvements make the biggest difference. If these stories of Japanese ingenuity have changed how you look at the tools in your own home, please subscribe and like the video. We are uncovering the thoughtful designs and hidden histories that others might overlook. Let's build a more efficient future together. Our next exploration into hidden treasures will begin soon.